I swear to God, Kevin just started the audio countdown that he normally does 3, 2, 1 at 13.
That totally happened.
Go,
No,
12,
I said 3.
11. You got to do that someday for the morning show with Nick. It pisses him off so much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Monday, May 14th, 2018. I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the Reverend Jared Petty.
Doki doki, and good to see you, Tim.
Good to see you, man.
Oh, thank you.
Good. Good news. Well, I don't want to say good news. Good day for video game news. Some sad news.
Yeah, actually a lot of sad news today, but there's a lot going on.
A lot of good news, a lot of cool stuff. Maybe, who knows? We're going to get to all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kind of Funny Games Daily each and every weekday right here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. We get together, run through all of the video game news that you need to know. You can get the show on YouTube at youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Watch the show whenever you want. You can rewatch episodes. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you just want to look at the pretty set we got, you can do that. Jared's pretty face. A lot of pretty things going on. Post there around 2 p.m. every day, or you can get the audio version of the show on podcast services around the globe, including iHeartRadio, including Spotify, including Stitcher and TuneIn. Whole bunch of options for you there. Apple Podcast, of course. You just got to search for Kind of Funny Games Daily on those services, and you'll be able to find that and subscribe and review. We appreciate all that. It's a good time for everybody involved. Had a little housekeeping. Greg Miller is out all week this week from Kind of Funny Games Daily. He's out gallivanting in Santa Monica at Judges Week.
Out there judging.
He
is the law.
He is an actual judge.
He is the law.
So that's exciting. He's playing a whole bunch of video games that will be at E3. And he'll be able to talk about some of them next week, some of them at later dates. It's going to be fun. That's on Gamescast coming up next week. And I will be gone Thursday and Friday at Judges Week. I'm not a judge. I just get to go play some cool games.
Which is pretty rad.
It is pretty rad, and I'm very excited about some of the things that I get to play.
All of the power,
week.
None of the responsibility.
Exactly. That's how I like to roll. So that should be fun. Very excited about that. So that means that this week we're going to have a crazy kind of different type of week where it's different guests every day, potentially. Well, today is me and you. Tomorrow's going to be me and you again. What happens the rest of the week? Honestly, we don't know.
Who knows?
Gary would have canceled on us, so we have a lot of holes to fill. But you know what? That's what Kind of Funny's best at.
That was a fun thread, wasn't it, there on that email this
It
morning?
was. Where Gary was literally supposed to be on 4 days this week, and it was like, oh, my bad, I can't do it. Gotta love Gary Whitta. We are always his last priority, and it makes sense. I can't even be mad about it. But hopefully that means we get some cool, fun new faces that have never been on the show. We'll see how that goes. This episode is brought to you by 4Hims, but we will get to that later. For now, let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news. We got 5 items today.
A baker's dozen.
The first one, this is the sad one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Comes from Cliff Blizinski's Twitter. Boss Key Productions closed. He tweeted out an image of a message so you can get in more characters than the 280 given on Twitter. It says, as of today, Boss Key Productions is effectively no more. 4 years ago, I set out to make a world-class video game studio, and I hired some of the best talent in the video game industry. They worked tirelessly to produce quality products, and while we had our ups and downs, I like to think we had fun doing it. Lawbreakers was a great game that unfortunately failed to gain traction, and in a last-ditch attempt, we scrambled to do our take on the huge battle royale genre with Radical Heights, which was well-received. However, it was too little too late. As for myself, I'm going to take some time off and reflect. I need to focus on myself and family, as well as my Aussie, Teddy, who is slowly fading from us. Video games will forever be a part of who I am, and I hope to make something new again someday. However, I need to withdraw and take this time. To those of you who have supported myself in the studio these last 4 years, thank you from the bottom of my heart and everyone who came to work for me. Please note that service for Radical Heights will remain up for the near future. Thanks again, Cliff.
That's sad.
It is.
Yeah, that's the easiest thing to say because it's a poignant moment. This is somebody who's created a lot of really neat things. He's not wrong. Lawbreakers was a quality product that just didn't gain traction. It was a really neat game, and it just didn't get the audience it needed. There were other things out there people wanted to play at the time, and I think this Boss Key is a very strange story in this industry. At a time when a lot of people were going out and stepping away from larger studios and doing their own thing, and then some creators were having some success in that, Cliff, who had tremendous notoriety and a great track record, went out and actually made a couple of pretty neat things, and nobody bought them. Mm-hmm. That's that's just sad in about every way possible. Now, I'm not saying that I want to absolve the studio of all responsibility for some of the messaging that went on around that or some of the technical issues that occurred around these games, but you still wanted to see them succeed, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. Greg went over to North Carolina to do an interview series for Lawbreakers as it was coming out, and he was talking to Cliff, and they were really about trying to find that middle ground and being like, hey, we're going to put out a budget title to kind of fit that in between the indie and the $60 MSRP games. And like that's something that we talk about on the show all the time. We talk about wanting, and we talk about that void being such a great place for games to be. And we've seen it work with some of the bigger publishers, like with Ratchet and Clank and with Crash Bandicoot and all that stuff. But for a hero shooter to come out at a time when Overwatch was dominating, and not to say that there isn't room for multiple games in the same genre, but we've seen in the last couple of years this unique situation where that seems to kind of be the case, right? When you look at Battleborn and like the failure of that.
When it comes to shooters, I think it's Twitch. I mean, I think it comes down to that. Shooters have become a genre that is codified by what people are watching as much as what people are playing. And what people play is largely determined by what people watch. And that genre has narrowed to a point where mainstream shooters that want to exist on mass audiences, and Lawbreakers was intended for that, are not going to be able to do it if the streamers aren't playing it. And I really do think that that's actually, while it's great for some games, it is maybe bad news in the long run for the industry. If a game has to be both watchable and playable, that narrows your artistic focus. It's gonna alter the way you develop games from here on. Obviously, I think streaming on Twitch is a wonderful thing. It's very neat. I don't want to take away from that either, but this may be a casualty of games as a spectator sport, and that not necessarily great news in my mind. That we're looking at a future where a game has to be watchable to be enjoyable. Do you think that that's an overstatement?
No, man. I think that that's a very astute comment. I feel like that the future that we've been kind of driving at in the last couple of years is exactly what you're saying, and I don't think that's the only case. Like obviously, games can be popular and not need the Twitch side of things, but when there is so much built-in marketing. With Twitch and like with Fortnite's success, PUBG's success, so much of that is people watching as much as it is people playing. And watching, getting people excited to then playing, to then try it out. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all goes. And I feel like this kind of killed certain games like Evolve, and we saw the quick rise and the rush for everyone to make a 4v1 asymmetric gameplay style game, and then that just kind of crashed down. And then the hero shooters, and then that's where that it's Overwatch, and then the whole battle royale games. I wonder what's next. I wonder how they're going to adapt and figure out a way to have more than one or two games dominate the conversation.
And it creates a very strange situation where companies, which are always, obviously companies are always trying to sell us their product. That's great. But companies are very, very interested in this arena in reaching out to people that have a lot of influence and being like, hey, play our game on Twitch. Preview our game on your YouTube channel. Show off our game there to try to, and when you have enough muscle to leverage into that space, that also creates a situation where it's going to be harder for those AA tier games like this to break through. Now, Fortnite did it, but Fortnite is someday the great comprehensive Fortnite story is going to get written, and it's going to be great.
And it began with Cliff. Like that's a crazy thing to think about, right? How it's all full circle. I mean, the craziest thing is seeing how these games are going to just continue to be played, to be watched, and to grow. And when you look at something like what you're just talking about, of the devs having the power to get influencers, which then influence so many people to be interested in the game. Radical Heights was such a good example of that, out of morbid curiosity. Like when that trailer dropped, it's like, oh, hey, it's coming out. And everyone's kind of like, I want to talk shit about this. Like this seems like you're totally just cashing in. And they were like, hey, we are just cashing in. Like we need to do this. And obviously it didn't work out well enough, fast enough. But we saw like everyone was streaming that game, right? Dr. Disrespect jumping in, Ninja jumping in. It's like there are these moments where there's these tentpole events where there's going to be a lot of influencers playing the game. And if the game is good enough, and if the game is doing something different, well,
Yeah.
I think that instantly, not that it's going to shift everyone that's playing and watching Fortnite over, but you don't need everyone. You just need a sizable chunk.
Yeah, but it's hard to get because of the way discovery works on the internet. That's the difficult part. I mean, if you're somebody right now and you're trying to put a stream together, which do you do? Do you go for that more niche property that you think isn't getting enough coverage, knowing that no one's looking for it? Then how do you get found? And how do you get the streamers? How do you get the viewers you need to make it work? Or do you go with Fortnite, which you know people are constantly looking for? And discovery, because ultimately the way the internet works is you type something in a search box and then you find it. It's very, very hard to do that the other way on the internet, to scream, I'm over here with something awesome. Nobody hears you. There's too much noise. That's why, and I really do think this falls on folks like us. We are a general game enthusiast outlet here. We don't deal with one game, we deal with multiple games. Groups like us or more traditional games press like IGN and GameSpot, the responsibility for helping introduce people to more games, to a broader variety of games beyond just the mainstream.
Desert Golf.
It falls on us. That's our job. And it falls on the best friends who do it on Reddit and do it on the Facebook group and do it on the community and do it face by face with their friends.
Who write into kindoffunny.com/KFGD and let us know what games people should be playing that they're having a good time with.
But if we want games like Radical Heights to succeed, then we got to go out and make sure that people are hearing about it every day.
Yeah. So obviously our condolences and hearts go out to all of the people affected by this. And, I'm happy that Cliff's taking some time off, going to reflect and see what's up. I mean, he's such a brilliant mind in the industry, and I'm sure that everything will be figured out eventually. But even if he just falls back to being like a consultant.
I'm sure Cliff's got another good game in him.
Yeah.
He knows something about making video games. That guy.
Extremely true. All right. Second story today. This one, very much up my alley. This comes from...
I hear the theme music running through my head even before you begin reading that.
That fucking hype, son. Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer reporting on some StarFox rumors. Not just any StarFox rumors. Some Retro Studios StarFox rumors. A round of internet leaks has suggested Nintendo's Retro Studios, developer of the Metroid Prime trilogy, is working on a StarFox racing spinoff. The leaks appeared online over the weekend on Reddit and 4chan and were then reported this morning on multiple gaming sites and blogs. So, what do we believe? Well, as improbable as Retro making a StarFox racing spinoff may sound, Eurogamer sources have heard similar. Details posted to Reddit by user Das Vergeben, who has a patchy record, touted Retro's StarFox project as a racing game like Diddy Kong Racing mixed with F-Zero. It will have an adventure mode of some kind, think Diddy Kong Racing, and there will be some boss fights in a hub world like it too. It is called StarFox Grand Prix. While I hadn't heard the name, and I don't know if it's accurate or final, other details line up with what I have heard. The StarFox series is traditionally a space and sometimes land-based vehicle shooter, although it has dabbled in various other genres before. Shortly after the Reddit post went live, a logo for StarFox Grand Prix separately appeared on 4chan, that home of reliable video game leaks. There's a lot of sarcasm there. Although it is the truth at the same time. Like, it's not often, but every once in a while there's some shit that's like, wow, they fucking nailed it. Again, I've not heard that name specifically, but the rest of the details line up.
Okay, so right off, grain of salt. Let's get the grain of salt disclaimer
There's a
out of the way.
lot of grain of salt going on, a lot of who knows whether or not this is true. I personally believe it's 100% true. I think that there's been enough rumblings about this that I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. It kind of reminds me of the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle conversations last year, where it's like it's too weird and specific to not be true.
It makes too much sense not to be true. This is a great move for them. Star Fox has always struggled for an identity since Star Fox 64. Really has. They've tried it as an adventure game. Didn't really work. They've tried some...
It worked. But it wasn't like a major...
Prince Tricky?
Prince fucking Tricky, dude, my boy. Don't be talking shit about it. Are you about to talk down to Crystal?
What's that?
Don't talk shit about Crystal. The internet will get very mad at you.
Listen here. All right. I got no love for Star Fox Adventures. Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. But they've tried several things. Most of them have not clicked after the rail arcade games.
Third remake of Star Fox. Yeah.
So take a property while it still has some brand recognition and do something completely new with it. An F-Zero game might have done well, but a Star Fox racing game, that does even better, especially since it sounds like from some of the other things I've seen here that you'd have mechanics like there are enemies, and as you shoot whoa, exciting things happening behind us here on the set. But you've got enemies, and if you shoot the enemies, you speed up. So you're effectively boosting, kind of speed running through the stages, using those to pass other people. I assume we're gonna have space races in 3 dimensions, racing through asteroid fields and familiar, beautiful places. You got Star Wolf swooping in from Oscar. It's too good.
Yeah.
Either sometimes we get some overactive imagination stuff here, but this makes sense.
I have so many thoughts on this. My top level thing is, and I feel like this is a very un-Tim thing to say, because I am the Lord of Hype and I'm all about it. We are at that sweet spot 3 weeks out from E3.
Yeah.
Where I want the leaks to stop. I like we're so close where I would much rather just be surprised by what we see at the conferences, at the directs, at the spotlights, whatever they want to call this stuff. Because I feel like a big problem that we've saw, especially last year, but the year before as well, is so much stuff leaks before the shows that as we're watching, it's like, oh, here's that thing. Oh,
thanks,
here's that
Walmart
thing.
Canada.
And then it starts to feel not as special. And like, even though it's like crazy big news, it doesn't feel like big news, and it's kind of underwhelming. Whatever. That's our own fault. It's like watching trailers for movies and then bitching that the trailers ruined the movie. That's the world that we live in. So that's something I want to get off my chest. It makes me sad. But what makes me happy is there's a chance this game is real. It's confusing. Retro Studios, what have they been working on? You know, they did Metroid Prime 1, 2, 3. They did Donkey Kong Country Returns, Tropical Freeze, fucking fantastic games, all of them. Some better than others, but all fantastic games. It's been a long time.
Yep, but it would take a long time to design a precision product like this. So I'm actually pretty groovy with that idea. I think that works.
There's been so many rumors and speculation about what Retro's been up to over the last couple of years. I mean, Tropical Freeze came out in 2013.
Yeah.
And that was a shock to people that they were making another Donkey Kong Country game. When they announced Returns, it was like, okay, cool, this is very different than Metroid, a smaller project, return of a beloved 2D platformer. That's interesting and cool. But for them to go back to it on the Wii U, which was already struggling so much, it was a very bizarre call. And, a lot of people were very upset about it and up in arms about it. In the same way that they were up in arms when they heard that Metroid was finally coming back for the first time since Super Metroid in 3D being made by Retro Studios. Like back in the day, people were so upset about it. So my thing is, Retro, I believe, can do no wrong. Give them any property. I think they're going to be fine. And as weird and nonsensical as things may seem, they're going to figure out a way to make it work. I do feel like people are going to be pretty upset with this news for multiple reasons.
Interesting.
I think they expect a lot, quote unquote, more from Retro. I think a lot of people were hoping for a real mature story-based game or some horror thing. Or there's been a lot, right? People or Eternal Darkness. I feel like a StarFox racing game is not something that anybody was asking for. I feel like there's going to be another set of people that are upset because it's not F-Zero. It's like, oh, if you're going to do this, why not do F-Zero? And they think that this means that F-Zero is not happening. I think that none of that is things to worry about. I think F-Zero will happen eventually, and I do not think that it'll get in the way of this. This could be like F-Zero in the sense that it's a racing game. Mario Kart's like F-Zero in the sense that it's a racing game. Very different style of game, very different genre, everything about it, right?
Yeah.
Where I think this could succeed is everything we love about StarFox being transtilled into one game that just focuses on that. None of the out of our ring, running around bullshits. None of the stupid levels with the tanks and stuff. It is just on rails, time attack, score attack, story-based fun things happening. Yeah. And I feel like taking the Diddy Kong or Crash Team Racing style open hubs, mission-based kind of gameplay, it's a brilliant way to fix StarFox that I had never even thought could be possible.
I agree with you. You said that you thought some people would reject it because it's not the StarFox game people were asking for, and it's not the F-Zero game people were asking for. But people have been asking for a StarFox game and an F-Zero game. And this fulfills both those requirements in a creative, interesting way. I understand it's been a long time. People are like, how could you work so long on a racing game? But an online racing game...
I truly believe that if this game is real, that Retro's working on something else as well.
Okay.
I think that, I mean, I don't fucking know shit. But I do not believe that StarFox Zero was what it was as late as it was in the Wii U's life, and that Retro had been working on another StarFox game.
I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't working on something else, but I do think that creating a racing game in 3D space that has good netcode is a huge technical undertaking. Like, it's not just like left and right. Now we have to deal with a 3-dimension. That is a lot to be able to process quickly, especially if it's multiple racers all at the same time. So you've got 8 people all racing in spaceships on the same track. That's going to take a long time to build. So I do think they've been working on this for a while. Yeah. And if they are announcing it at E3, woohoo, I want it to happen. I can't wait for it to happen, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I really think it's going to happen. And like I said, I do think that this means that Retro is working on something else as well. When we'll see that, I'm not sure.
What do you think it'll be?
I don't know. I mean, all the things that I was talking about earlier, right? Like something a bit more mature, something a bit more
moody,
narrative focused. I don't know. Like, it's another one of those where there's smoke, there's fire type situations. And I feel like this is a response to Zero more than anything.
That's interesting. I think that what this is them looking at a pattern that they had in the past and found success with, that they seem to be returning to in this generation. And that's that once a franchise had played out for a while, they would create a spin-off. Smash Brothers is effectively a giant spin-off. You think about the Mario RPGs or Paper Mario or things like that, which are spin-offs. The DS and the portable Zelda games had a spin-off. And there's a lot of other examples that Nintendo's past this. The sports games. They looked at StarFox and they said, well, if we just release StarFox 3, people are going to be like, well, that's pretty cool. But if we build strength in the franchise by doing something very good that's a spin-off, we can re-energize the franchise and open the door to creating a larger audience. And they've been very good at that. If you look at Breath of the Wild, that's effectively, Breath of the Wild is a complete reimagining.
Exactly.
Zelda.
And I feel like this is what Star Fox needs. And like now to kind of go on the other side for me, to go back fully into the hype, if this is real, I can't believe we're getting another Star Fox game so soon. I thought Star Fox Zero would have marked the death of the franchise for at least a long time.
I would like to point out that I've been a staunch and vocal advocate of the return of a Star Fox game after Zero.
I just totally could not believe that they would actually do it, especially not give it to Retro. Like, Retro making a Star Fox to me is like, I can't believe it. Like, it's too good to be true. And I do think that the genre change could be very interesting, and I feel like it, again, will help the game, and I think it'll give it a much better chance at survival, and a better chance at being good. You know, like, Star Fox at the end of the day is an outdated genre. It's a type of thing that, like, if it came out as a $20 budget game, that'd be one thing, but coming out as a full-priced premier title from Nintendo.
The idea of like a rail shooter playthrough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just feel like that's, you know, the 2-hour experience that, you can play through 6 different or like 3 or 4 different times with different levels and different alternate routes and stuff. Like, that's just not where video games are at these days. And I think that this could be a very cool version of what Star Fox would look like.
That's an interesting point. I want to think about that some, but I definitely think that they had that in their heads when they put this together, because a racing game, you can get away with that kind of thing. See Forza.
I do think that it's weird that Nintendo would be adding another racing game to its arsenal, with Mario Kart and F-Zero being as prominent as they are. Having said that, I do think that we're not getting another Diddy Kong Racing. So having a game that is, you're not a big Diddy Kong guy?
I think that the design of Diddy Kong Racing is very interesting. I think that people that say Diddy Kong Racing is better than Mario Kart they make me sad.
I never really played it too much, so like I don't have a horse in the race there.
Well, it features Diddy Kong for one thing, and that may, more than anything else, maybe its primary offense.
But I did play Crash Team Racing, and that game was very much inspired by mixing Diddy Kong Racing and Mario Kart together, and it is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, kart racer of all time.
Crash Team Racing is groovy.
It's so good, and I think that it's obviously very tight racing mechanics, but I loved the adventure mode. I loved the story and the missions and the different tasks that they gave you to kind of like not just have it be the same thing over and over, and having boss fights. Like, that's an interesting twist on kart racers. And man, you add in, like you were talking about, the 3D and like flying around. This could be really cool.
But will it be Konami Crazy Racers good?
No,
because
it'll be way better. Way better.
That game's actually really good.
On the GBA?
Oh yeah,
the launch game.
That's a great game.
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't like it much.
Oh, I love that game.
I do really like Super Circuit. on the GBA, and I feel like a lot of people hate on that game.
I like Super Circuit. I thought it was a perfect throwback title, and it was perfect for the hardware.
Yeah.
It was perfect for the hardware.
Well, let us know what you think about this StarFox news, ladies and gentlemen. I hope it happens because it sounds great to me. Next news story. This comes from Jason Schreier over at Kotaku. Rage 2 officially announced. The announced trailer is out now. The gameplay trailer will premiere tomorrow. This one will be developed by Avalanche Studios, the studio responsible for the 2015 open-world Mad Max game. The first Rage, developed by id Software and released in 2011, received mediocre reviews. In 2012, as Kotaku reported, id Software was planning its own version of Rage 2 before Bethesda canceled it and refocused the studio on the new Doom, which was going through a brutal development cycle. Thanks to some reboots, some management changes, and a lot of talented people, id Software recovered to release 2016's Doom, a highly regarded new entry in the series that wound up on the top of many Game of the Year lists. So why would Bethesda make a new Rage game? For starters, Bethesda marketing boss Pete Hines, friend of the show, has teased it, suggesting that the first Rage sold well enough to justify a sequel. And as we saw from last year's Prey, which had nothing to do with the first Prey, and which many developers at Arcane didn't actually want to call Prey, Bethesda does not like throwing away its old brands, even when they're hopping between studios, genres, and ideas.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
Did you watch that trailer?
I did watch the trailer.
There's lots of purples and pinks and some pretty colors in that trailer.
It's very Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Mixed with pop punk.
Yeah.
You know?
I like it.
The little Andrew WK music playing in the background. It's definitely not an aesthetic I like.
Yeah. Oh, is that not your thing?
It's not my thing. I get it. Not for me.
Man, there is nothing I want more in the world than to be wandering around the desert in a big Lord Humongous like metal hockey mask with like chaps with no back on them, just butt hanging out, wandering across like a desiccated landscape. That's me. That's all I want in life. Obviously, this is just an announced trailer. I love that we have an announced trailer and then we have a game trailer and then we have. I don't know if they planned on letting us know about this already or if this is a response to the Walmart leak.
To the leak, but then there's thoughts that the leak was planned.
Yeah, it's who knows?
By certain people. So
leaks, what we got going on here? Oh, we got some people popping around. Yeah. Oh, he's testing something out. Okay, we saw this popping on the screen. So, I thought it was behind us.
We got a couple questions for people. Philip writes in, says, "Good morning. I've just finished watching the Rage 2 teaser and I'm a little confused. They're releasing gameplay tomorrow, which leads me to wonder what Bethesda will have for their E3 presser. Rage 2 gameplay seems like something they normally would have shown at E3. What else could they have up their sleeves?" And then Sakajoy writes in and says, "Hey guys, so Bethesda announced that Rage 2 is real this morning and that it's being made by Avalanche, the guys who made Just Cause and Mad Max. So that means id is working on something else, right? Doom 2. Do you think we'll see id's new game at Bethesda's E3? Should Ross and Rachel have ended up together? What's the meaning of life? Thanks, guys."
Okay, I've got three answers here. And I'm going to go in reverse. What is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to help others. Should Ross and Rachel have ended up together? No, Rachel should have ended up with Joey. I've always believed that. Yes, absolutely. Rachel and Joey was a great pairing. And are we going to see id's new game at Bethesda E3? I don't think so. There is no universe in which id is not working on Doom 2.
Yeah.
That is absolutely happening. Doom was spectacular, and it's got great name recognition, and it sold pretty well, and they're going to make another one. But Bethesda's MO seems to be to let us know about things when they're almost ready to go.
And you don't think the time's right?
I think that's probably a 2020 game, or 2019 game, pardon me.
Yeah.
I think...
Because, 2 years... Yeah. I don't know, though. If it's a sequel using the same assets and the same...
I don't see them pushing it out the door that quickly. Why do it? You space it out. You've got that... Because I think that Elder Scrolls is probably 2020. And so that would Doom would be a great 2019 for... Again, I'm just using very scientific methods like guessing. So I don't have any special knowledge. What do you think, Tim?
What you're saying makes a lot of sense there. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Doom 2 this year, but I also am not expecting it.
Yeah.
I do agree, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like we're at the point where I'm like, oh man, like I would have much rather see that during the press conference. You know, we're getting to the point where like last year, people were upset with Bethesda's press conference, despite having a bunch of great games, because there was no surprises. Everybody knew everything that was going to be in it as it was going on.
Oh, I don't think they planned the leak. I mean, I don't think it's usually that planning a leak with another brand. The amount of skullduggery that would have to take place for that to happen, I think that's mostly going to be conspiracy theory crap.
Yeah.
I think the leak happened, and my guess, and again, I'm not inside their company, these decisions are made in very complex ways, usually made by multiple people having long discussions over days. My guess is that they looked and they said, well, it's out there, and let's just go ahead and drop the assets we had ready. That's my suspicion.
Yeah.
And then we'll just focus in the press conference on gameplay.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it is a good call for, especially for games like this, where, you know, they're not the biggest titles in the world. So trying to not be overshadowed by everything else at E3, it is smart to kind of get ahead of it and to put things out there. It just creates less hype for the actual conferences themselves. But at the end of the day, it's not about the conferences, it's about the games. So if it serves the game better, then it totally makes sense, and I understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
Joey Apesy writes in, Joe Apesy, and says, with Rage 2's announcement trailer being released, it appears that the game is taking a much more wacky and zany tone than the first. Do you think this tone is what the franchise needed? I really enjoyed the announcement trailer, and it gives me hope. It gives me some hope that the game will try to emulate Borderlands and Bulletstorm, giving us something to fill the void left by the absence of those two franchises.
Oh, I like that.
I think it's an interesting take there.
Yeah.
Did you play the original Rage?
Not much.
Yeah, I didn't play it at all. Before this, I just looked at some Let's Plays and some trailers for that. It seems like, yeah, it's a very different tone than this, and I think that it is very much inspired by a mix of Mad Max and Borderlands. And I think that it's great that Avalanche is working on it, because people love, like Colin always used to say that Mad Max was his game of the year that year, which I think was absolutely insane. But
you know what?
loved
My buddy John Ryan at IGN, he will not stop talking about how great Mad Max was. He loved that game. Just absolutely adored it. But I think this is going to be a very, very, very different game than what we saw before, because Rage was plagued by kind of middling press, and I think they go back and look at that formula and do something entirely new with it.
All right, next news story. This comes from Jon Fingas at Engadget. His last name is Fingas. I wish that was my last name. Microsoft may launch an accessibility-focused Xbox One controller. Microsoft has a long-running history of courting gamers with accessibility needs, and it now looks like that might include a gamepad built with those players in mind. Well-known leaker Walking Cat has obtained an image of what looks to be an Xbox One controller designed with accessibility in mind. The peripheral appears to revolve around two giant buttons that would be easy to use without precise finger dexterity you usually need. There's also a row of grooved icons, potentially touch-sensitive buttons, that reflect common Xbox functions, suggesting that gamers won't have to wade through menus that might be difficult to navigate. It might be programmable too. Windows Central noticed a 3-light LED borrowed from the unannounced second-generation Xbox Elite controller, suggesting that at least some of the functionality could be customizable. A USB port on the side might make programming relatively straightforward.
Drop this in today because even though it's only a rumor, it's a rumor that makes a lot of sense, and it's really, really cool. So controller accessibility is more than a fringe issue. It's one of those things that until you're around it, you just don't think about it, and that's probably a mistake. And I dropped this in because of something that happened in my life. After Angie had her car accident, she was in a place where really only one of her limbs worked for weeks and weeks and weeks. And she was bedridden. Her legs didn't work, and she couldn't move her neck. And so she was just kind of trapped in this bed for months. And during that period of time, I gained a tremendous appreciation that I had not had before for just how difficult life is for folks that don't have complete accessibility the way that you and I take for granted. The difference between her going mad during her time in rehab and her being able to actually have a reasonable degree of distraction and entertainment at her fingertips was the iPad. Set up on a mount in front of her and a swiveling table that she could pull in and pull back with that one good arm. The fact that she could control absolutely everything with a touch interface and that there was a little Wi-Fi in that room brought her a world of entertainment and music and movies and TV and games that she would not have had access to with any kind of traditional control mechanism. And it made a big impression on me. And it got me looking at the history of how people have treated accessibility in games. I mean, there was an NES controller. Have you ever seen this thing that was built for people that couldn't use their arms? And so it was literally, you could blow into it or pull back on your breath to press A and B, and you steer with your tongue and play NES games.
Oh my God.
This is for the old. And ever since then, people have been coming up with different ways to allow folks to play games or to have access to other sorts of art and entertainment that they might not otherwise if their limbs or digits don't function the way that your and eyes do. That's really great. And seeing such a thoughtful effort put in by Microsoft to making sure that more people can enjoy that really made me happy. So I'm hoping this rumor's true.
Yeah, and it looks cool too. The image that was leaked out there. You can check that out. Check out Engadget. Final news story. This comes from IGN. Shabana Arif writes, more Mario Odyssey costumes found. Recent Super Mario Odyssey data mines have revealed a host of unused costumes, including an undead costume with a Cappy axe wedged into the plumber's skull. My God. There's a new video that offers a look at them in action. You can see that on IGN. The last time we got a sneak peek at some unreleased costumes was back in March, after the Luigi's Balloon update was scoured to reveal a bunch of brutal costumes. Since then, YouTuber Mizumi has had a good old root around in the game's files and found even more, as well as finding the previously discovered Harriet, Rango, and Spewart costumes. 5 more were ferreted out. Racing helmet, the racing outfit, conductor outfit, zombie outfit, Santa outfit, and the 8-bit Mario cap that turns Mario into this pixelated, it looks like the 8-bit Mario amiibo they released.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like people digging around in code and finding stuff like this. Some of it never gets used.
Yeah.
There are things that projects work on and then they never get released, and people are like, why don't they go ahead and release them? Well, usually there's some sort of internal reason. Sometimes if you change a 0 to a 1 somewhere in code, it completely ripples through in ways you would never imagine. And I know that sounds silly to say an asset could affect other parts of a game, but it can.
Yeah.
It really can. And so some of this we may never see, but I'll bet you a lot of it we do.
That reminds me of, and I think I'm mixing up a bit here, but when Smash Brothers Brawl came out, it was data mined to hell, and people found assets, unfinished assets for Dixie Kong and Mewtwo and Roy.
Yeah.
Who were in Brawl. And then in the Wii U version, I think it was the Chorus Kids from Rhythm Heaven.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and someone else. So
that's cool. I love the Chorus Kids.
Yeah,
there.
but obviously didn't go anywhere.
Which of the Smash Brothers games was it where you could zoom in on the back of Daisy's head and under her hair there was an eyeball on the back of her head? Because that was through reading
sounds
around
like
in the
Melee.
code too.
I imagine it was Melee in one of the trophies.
Yeah, it was because you could zoom in on the asset. Somebody dug into the code. In fact, she had an eyeball in the back of her head.
Really weird shit.
Yeah, I'm sure that was just a mistake. Like an artist put the hair over it, and that was. By the way, self-correction. You asked about me playing Rage. I may be confusing Rage and Bulletstorm in my head right now.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I'm like, did I? I can't remember
really
anymore.
Funny. Really funny.
Because the two are like locked in my head as one game.
It's been so long, and it's going to be a while until Rage 2 does come out. But until then, if I want to know what games are coming to stores today, Jared Petty, where would I look?
I'd look at the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the Kind of Funny Games daily show hosts each and every weekday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kev. Oh, is that with the new mic?
Yeah, but it's not like set up right.
Show people the mic.
We got a new mic here?
We got a fancy new mic.
Ooh, look at that.
We're gonna hang
Whoa.
that. We're gonna
Is that the
hang it.
hanging mic?
Yeah,
Is that, we're doing it.
Gonna be tight. Gonna be tight. Today, not much out. Just one game. The Mystery of the Hudson Case on Switch.
Well, there we go.
We do have some new dates for you, though. Stardew Valley is coming to Vita May 22nd with PS4 cross-buy.
This being the beginning of the Vita second wave.
Exactly. This is the AAA hit that they needed to really like set things going. It's going to be a good time for
It's actually
everyone.
a perfect game for
E3, yeah, it totally is. So that's exciting. Also exciting, the NES Classic Edition will be returning to stores June 29th. Nintendo was on Twitter to share the good news, saying this system and the SNES Classic Edition systems are expected to be available through the end of the year.
Woohoo!
I'm happy they're bringing it back. Yep. It's a little late, but I mean, hey. At least it's out there and people will be able to get it.
Yeah, I've heard some bitterness in people's mouths about this, and I understand being bitter that there weren't enough of them at launch. I have one of these. They're great. They are worth every penny, even if the release left a bad taste in your mouth. It is such a slick, solid product that if you've got the cash, you should run out and buy it.
Absolutely. Overwatch Anniversary and Legendary Editions comes from Twinfinite. Overwatch will be celebrating its 2-year anniversary from May 22nd through June 11th. New cosmetics, skins, dances, deathmatch map, competitive mode. In addition to the new map and all the cosmetic fun, last year's anniversary event is coming back. You can jump in to try the anniversary event from May 25th to May 28th for a free weekend on all platforms. If you're playing on PS4, you won't even need a PS Plus account this time.
So there's a lot of stuff coming in that. I am not a huge Overwatch guy. I mean, it's a great game, but I don't play it much. But it is, there's just tons and tons of stuff, especially that last year anniversary event also adds a lot. So
very cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure Andy's very excited about this. And finally, developer Inti Creates has released a trailer for 8-bit 2D platformer Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. Thank you for adding this.
Yep.
Which was created as a stretch goal for the Kickstarter for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Curse of the Moon will be released on May 24th for PC, Xbox One, PS4, PS Vita, 3DS, and Nintendo Switch.
See Vita on there again. That's right.
There you go.
Hey, you know what? My physical Vita copy of Bloodstained is coming one day.
One day.
They're still going to do, I can't believe they're still doing Vita cartridges.
Nuts.
I'm so excited about it. But yeah, all that said, Inti Creates, these are the guys that made Mega Man 9, Mega Man 10, two of the most spectacular retro style remakes ever. And now we've got this kind of Castlevania-esque 8-bit made by that same team.
Did you see the trailer?
Rad.
It's kind of unbelievable that this game exists, that this game is coming out before Bloodstained. I guess that's not that unbelievable.
No.
But like with Inti Creates, there's a lot of magic going on here.
Yeah.
They're doing all the right things.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance it's going to come out spectacular. They really do seem to understand how to create updated versions. What Mega Man 9 is, I'm about to commit blast. I love Mega Man. I love Mega Man games. Mega Man 9 is my favorite Mega Man game.
Wow.
I think it's better than 2 because it took 2 and it took everything great from 2 and then built on that in a very intelligent way. And it didn't just feel like a rehash. It's like, what can we take from 2 that we can remix and redevelop in a way that makes it new and interesting without taking away that feeling? And they nailed it. It is one of the best 2D platformers ever made.
I feel silly even asking this question, Jared, but were you a big NES Castlevania guy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah. It's kind of unbelievable. Like, again, when Mega Man 9 was released, like, I know that retro gaming is like in vogue and it has been for a while now. And a lot of that kicked off, I'd even say, with Mega Man 9. But that, for them to make a sequel to an old franchise in the style and like trying to be faithful to that, like you just don't see that anymore.
No, you don't. And that was a long time ago, granted, that they did 9 and 10, both of which are spectacular. I think 9's a little better than 10, but 10's very good. Seeing them redo Castlevania, I'm very, very excited for how this turns out. I think the odds are it'll be great. They also did the incredible Blaster Master Zero for the Switch, which took everything you hated about Blaster Master out and took everything you loved about Blaster Master and made it better.
It's great.
These guys make good stuff. But yeah, Castlevania games they're kind of a lost art form, and that's a shame. Not because old things are good and new things are bad, but because they're a kind of game that doesn't get made a lot anymore, that has some really compelling gameplay hooks and mood and thematic hooks that are, when they come together, create something that you might not have experienced if you haven't played games past a certain back in time. This will give us a chance to do that again.
Well, now it's time for Reader Mail. Today's Reader Mail is brought to you by 4Hims. 4Hims is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness for men, thanks to science. Kevin's all about that science, right, Kev? Baldness can be optional. The thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's too late. You know about that, Jared Petty?
I know a little bit about hair loss, my friend.
66% of men lose their hair by age 35. It's easier to keep the hair that you have than replace the hair that you've lost. Andy Cortez, Nick Scarpino know this very well. They've been struggling with this for the last couple of years, so they've been trying to figure out ways. They've been doing this for Hims. They've been having a lot of success with it. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. They're well-known generic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. There's no waiting room, no awkward doctor visits. You can save hours by going to 4hims.com. It's super easy. You just need to answer a couple questions. The doctor will review and can prescribe you what you need. Products are shipped directly to your door. So you don't need to worry about going to stores and stuff. Gotta love that. Like I said, Andy and Nick have been using it for a while now. Their process was super easy. They have people going back and forth with them, trying to find out just the right products for their needs. They're all about it and feel a lot better and more comfortable with themselves now that they've been using this stuff. You can order now. You can go get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. You can see the website for full details. It would cost hundreds if you were to go to the doctor or pharmacy. So go to forhims.com/gamesdaily. That's FORHIMS.com/gamesdaily. Forhims.com/gamesdaily. Keep your hair. First question today, Jared.
Yeah.
This comes from Jay from New York.
What's up,
Greetings, Kind of Funny Games Daily host. I'm writing to you today to ask if either of you have heard about the recent issues between Amazon and PlayStation, specifically the fact that you cannot pre-order Sony first-party games through Amazon. This first popped up in the weeks leading up to God of War, but titles like Detroit, Spider-Man, and Death Stranding are also affected. In the case of God of War, the game became available for purchase on release day, but that was pointless as it no longer was eligible for the 20% off special Amazon puts on pre-orders. Hoping for any insight you can provide or to at least bring it to your attention as we get ever closer to Detroit and Spider-Man's release dates. Thanks for the great work you guys do on a daily basis. Jay.
So this is an issue that I'm almost entirely ignorant on. So I'm going to have to lean on you here, Tim, because I almost never pre-order games.
I don't either. But I do know that a lot of people out there do, not necessarily for all the bonuses and stuff in terms of like in-game cosmetics, but for these 20% discounts. You know, Amazon has their system, Best Buy, Gamers Club Unlocked, GameStop has something. And I'm always interested in this type of stuff, this weird behind-the-scenes businessy shit of the politics of like why certain games are sold in certain places. It reminds me of movies where when you look at movies in theaters and there would be like certain rights where if there's movie theaters across the street, maybe Avengers is only playing at one of them and not the other. And like, they just have these like exclusive rights. With this, it's not exclusive. It's more the cat and mouse game of the companies throwing their dicks around and trying to be like I can imagine Amazon and Sony being like, well, we're only going to give you this much product. And Amazon being like, well, then we're not going to put your shit up for pre-order. What are you going to do about it? And it is just kind of talking all the shit because whatever product Amazon doesn't get is going to go to the other guys, right? We saw it in the last couple of years with the Nintendo systems on Amazon. For the longest time, for years, you couldn't buy Nintendo hardware on Amazon.
Now that I do remember
at all.
Right, yeah.
And this has kind of shifted. Last year with Amazon, they had a real big problem with EA games where you could not pre-order EA games. You couldn't purchase anything. The only way you could is if you pre-ordered the digital copies of the games using Amazon, which is ridiculous, right? But it still gets you discounts. So yeah, it's like I feel like we're just going to see more and more of this as the battle between brick and mortar, digital, and Amazon kind of keep battling it out and trying to figure out where everyone falls in this. And it sucks that the consumers are going to see the brunts of it, but
well, yeah, I don't want to speak out of ignorance, so I'm going to be very limited when I say here. But Amazon is a monopolistic market force. Their entire economic model is built on monopoly. They can sell things for less than they cost so that they can drive competitors out of business or out of parts of business, which they can then dominate and turn profitable. That has been their very open MO for a very long time. And we could talk about the ethics and merits of that another day. But that does create a situation where anyone who's selling anything sooner or later becomes beholden to them. And I don't know where or how pushback or deals are happening. I don't know anything about animosity in this situation. I do think that as we move closer and closer to a world where absolutely everything is bought through one store, we're going to run into situations where things become less, not more consumer friendly. And that's troubling.
Next question comes from Jared Calhoun. Tim and Jared, I really need to ask you both, what the hell is up with Kitten Squad on the Nintendo Switch?
Oh no, is this going to result in me playing something?
I hope not. Launched last Thursday, Kitten Squad is a free roguelite shooter starring adorable kittens. In your very first mission, you need to rescue an orca at a sealand who has been raped numerous times and watches her friend commit suicide by bashing his head into the tank wall, complete with blood-filled cutscenes. What the fuck? It takes less than 5 minutes of playtime to tell that this is another controversial game from PETA, like Super Tanuki Skin or Pokemon Black and Blue, except rather than relegated as an online flash game, this one was approved to appear on a Nintendo system. My question is, how did this get greenlit for the eShop, and is this a sign of worse store management to come? I have a hard time believing somebody at Nintendo actually played this and thought, yeah, that's exactly what we need on the front page of our shop.
I have no insight into this because this mail came in this morning
This
and
is
I don't have my
bizarre.
Switch with me. So I can't play the game, look at the content, and comment in an informed way. And I feel like with this, I don't want to go off the hip.
Yeah.
So, Tim, honestly, I'm not going to say a lot about this until I've played it.
Are you going to play it?
Yeah,
talk
I
about
am
it on
now.
Gamescast?
Yeah, this is too important not to, because issues like this, that's a quality control issue that I think a consumer has a right to ask questions about. I also think that Nintendo, PETA, and everybody else deserves for me to give an informed response to this. So I'm going to play it and talk about it on Gamescast.
I respect you, Jared Petty. You're the fucking man that we need. And final question for the day. This comes from Champ. Champ says, Final Fantasy VII Remake may come out in 2023. What the fuck, Square? I understand they had to scrap the previous version, but this is ridiculous. And knowing Square, it'll hit 2025 if we're lucky. How do you people kind of funny feel about this? Do you think the wait will be worth it? So this is coming off of just some translations and rumors and this and that. And from what I understand, it was a joke. That they're talking about 2023. Having said that, will that end up being the case? Who knows? Will this game ever actually come out? Who knows? Will it be worth the wait? Honestly, I feel like it will be.
Really?
I truly do. I feel like this game and the decisions that they're making. Final Fantasy VII has such a awesome worlds that people care about, and we have Final Fantasy VII. It is what it is, and it'll always be there for us.
Play it on iOS right now in an excellent version.
We do not need a totally faithful remake that's the exact same game that just looks prettier. We're not going to get that. Them kind of taking the more Kingdom Hearts action side of it, I feel like they could make a really great game out of this that doesn't have too much bloat in the way of Final Fantasy 15, in my opinion. And I feel like they understand what they have here and what the ridiculous expectations that people have. And I think a lot of people are going to be upset about it. But at the end of the day, I think that they can make a really great game that has the spirit of Final Fantasy VII, but that is a new game in a new genre for gamers nowadays.
If they decide to create Crisis Core HD, effectively, if they take Final Fantasy VII, give it a play style somewhat influenced by that, and I realize you're going to be party-based, so it can't be entirely like that. Make
Kingdom
it beautiful. Frankly, trim it. There's so much of Final Fantasy VII that can just be cut out. We do not need bodybuilder sexual assault in the remake of Final Fantasy VII. Which does happen in that game.
A lot of weird shit happens in that game.
Yeah, we do not need a lot of that. If that's what we get, it could be delightful because 7 is a mess. It's an interesting, historically important, brilliant mess. And I think people that haven't played it in a while forget just how bonkers cuckoo bananas.
But that's what
that
makes
story
it
is.
special. That's why it's good.
But if you can you retell that coherently in a world where everything looks real?
And that's where I'm at with this. Is
Yeah.
I feel there's a chance here to not just remake what was there, but to take what was there, take the spirit of it, and do something new that is fresh, that is interesting, and hopefully a lot more concise. Knowing Square, it won't be.
But if we get that,
it'd
be great.
It would be so great. All the gameplay that we've seen in the trailers so far, I'm all about. I think it's really cool and really interesting and beautiful.
I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna make a prediction here right now, and again, just off the hip. But I was thinking about this morning. They're gonna kill Tifa, not Aerith. We're gonna be waiting for Aerith to die, and they're gonna kill Tifa.
I don't even know how to deal with that right now.
That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna kill Tifa, and Aerith's gonna play through the end of the game with you.
I mean, see, that's the type of shit that'd be fucking cool and interesting.
Yeah.
It'd piss a lot of people off, but I like that.
Yeah, Aerith's gonna be praying, but it's not Aerith that dies, it's Tifa. Calling it.
Fucking. I like that. It's the type of ballsy shit we need. Now it's time to squad up. Oh, no, it's not. Ladies and gentlemen, I fucked up and I didn't get a squad up today. so the squad up for today is Kevin Coelho. What's your PSN, Kev?
Oh man, kind of funny, Kevin.
Kind of funny, Kevin. What games you been playing? At some point,
God of War is the last game I played.
that's like
So-
Jared Petty. You don't strike me as an online playing type.
No, I don't like to play video games on the internet very
Andy
much.
Cortez. Andy.
Yeah. Well, Andy's not coming. You know what?
Pomeranian. I hear him pitter pattering over here. I've made a fatal mistake today, and I didn't get a squad up. So you are a squad up of the day. You do your Twitch streams. Andy Cortez. You can go to twitch.tv/Maximum Cortez / Andy Cortez.
Andy Cortez.
And do you play with the best friends out there ever?
I do, yeah.
What is your PSN account?
Maximum Cortez.
Go follow him.
So you can add me. I just play with chat. I've been playing a lot of Fortnite lately. Squads, 50v50 mode.
Oh, what console?
PS4.
Nice.
And then we've also been doing some Overwatch here and there, but mostly Fortnite.
Okay.
It used to be the game that I was like, yeah, I'm playing it just because it's popular. But now I've become addicted to it.
You're
So,
addicted?
Yeah, I'm
Crazy.
addicted.
I'm addicted to you, Andy. Thank you very much for that. Squad up.
I'm addicted to you.
So Jared, now here's one of them rotating segments.
Oh, yeah.
Jared gets salty.
Yep. Gonna
Hit
be
me
real
with
quick.
it.
60 seconds.
Hit me with
Good to
it.
go.
6 seconds on the clock.
All right. I asked the Kind of Funny Reddit community for help on things that might make them salty this week. Normally it's about my salt, but I found a place where our salt overlaps. Real quick here. Person writes, as a parent of a 13-year-old, soon to be 14, I'm pretty salty about game events like PSX, E3, and others being 17 plus, 18 plus, 21 plus. He goes on to make a very interesting argument. You know what? I'm salty about that too. Because when I was a kid, I loved video games, and there's nothing in the world I would have wanted more than to be on that shower floor, eyes wide open, touching. And I understand that grown-ups get annoyed by kids. I was riding a train this morning that doesn't normally have kids on it. There was a field trip on that train, and watching the tech bros just squirm on that train was worth the ticket price right there. It was beautiful. Just watching the adults so uncomfortable because kids are alive and vibrant and stinky and annoying, and I love them. They know something that we don't, Tim.
They know a lot.
They know a lot that we don't know.
I don't trust them.
They know what's
I don't
possible,
trust
even
those
if we forgot
goddamn
it.
dumb
So
kids.
let's let kids on those floors. Absolutely. This guy makes a very good argument. Well, yeah, sure. It's some stuff's 21 plus, and there's all. But he's like, I can take my kid into an R-rated movie if I want. Why can't I take my kid onto the show floor? Good point.
Amen. Now it is time for Kind of Funny's You're Wrong segment. Where every day. What, Kev? What you got for me?
I got like 8 people in the last like 2 minutes adding me on PSN. My phone won't stop vibrating.
Squad up. Never roll alone. Marcus Martin says Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze came out in February 2014, not in 2013. I always fuck that up.
Ah, you know what? That's all right.
Yeah. But thank you. Thank you for that.
What we
Andy
got?
Climax says, in regards to whether the Walmart leak forced Bethesda's hand, Pete Hines said on Twitter today, quote, plan was originally to start teasing on Friday, teaser trailer today, gameplay tomorrow. We just improvised and adapted because my team is awesome and we thought it'd be fun, and it was.
Well, you got it from Pete. There you go.
My fucking man, Pete, dude.
I like Pete.
He's so good. I love how just straight up he is about stuff. And like, he knows what he's doing and then he does it. Like
Yeah.
on Twitter, like a couple weeks ago, he said something, he was talking, he's like, yeah, man, this might be the longest Bethesda conference we've had. And it's
Yeah.
like, you can't just say things like that because then people start really theorizing and getting excited. But he's like, no, fucking I'm owning it. And like, I'm going to say things that are happening that other companies wouldn't.
I'm going to go on. We're just going to say nice things about Pete for a minute.
Yeah.
Pete was possibly the most delightful, congenial interview I've ever had in this industry. Him or Suda. Suda was great too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Suda's a great dude.
Suda was fantastic, but Pete was a marvelous interview.
Capitalist Pig says, regarding the third eyeball, Daisy's third eye was found in Melee. This has since been fixed in later versions of the game.
There we go. It was Melee. So weird. She has 3 eyes. A little bit strange.
It is weird, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, didn't she originally? I think it was Kohler pointed this out. You know, she's from space, so she could be an alien.
Who the fuck knows, man?
I mean,
Daisy's
originally
on
she
some
was like a
shit.
space princess, right?
Oh, yeah.
on the
from,
Game Boy.
Super Mario Land?
Yeah. So it could be that.
Trying to find a good one here.
Hi, I'm Daisy. Hi,
Kebabs.
I'm Daisy.
Kebab says, to expound a bit on what Jared said, accessibility isn't just physical, it can affect the senses too. My girlfriend is legally blind and can't play games without subtitles, and God of Wars were initially... Yeah, wait, what? And God of Wars were initially so small she couldn't read them, even on her wall projector. Uncharted 4 and God of War are a great example of accessibility, with God of War eventually fixing it.
Mhm.
Lord Apone says, correct. The Final Fantasy VII 2023 date was a joke that was translated a week ago and is now spreading around online as not a joke. So just a reminder to always check your sources.
There we go.
And that's it.
Groovy.
I love you guys. Thank you very much for a great show. Tomorrow, once again, it'll be me and Jared Petty. Until then, I love you.